speaking louder and louder on both of these stars.
Young fella carrying that fool like a football.
The beard can frustrate with reckless efficiency.
Harden and one. Count 4.
Uncle Drew innovates with video game type moves.
The backboard sorcery.
Do you have any idea how hard the shot is that he just made?
But to win the title, you need a bit of magic. To be fearless with all rivals, ignite a revolution, and drill big shots. Harden, Kyrie.
This is what we wanted. Two of the best going at it.
Playoff progression continues. Rockets Celtics next.
Welcome to NBA Countdown, presented by Straight Talk Wireless.
Big shot with the voiceover. Alongside Studio H.
That was a great opening.
I can read a little bit.
The big three, represented, of course. Chauncey Billups, Jalen Rose, Paul Pierce. My name's Michelle Beadle. Two of the best offensive players in the league go head-to-head this afternoon. Impending free agent Kyrie Irving for the Celtics. MVP candidate James Harden for the Rockets. Their teams are both running a somewhat disappointing 5th in their conferences, and both seen as capable of so much more. Let's tackle the Celtics first. They finished February 5-6, only 2 wins in the last 8 games. They finished ranked 17th in net rating, behind Minnesota and Chicago. And Celtics co-owner Whit Grousbeck said Saturday that this has been, quote, the worst February he can remember, Paul. Do you agree?
I don't agree, because in 2006, 2007, that was in the middle of our 18-game losing streak. Which we didn't.
I lost for the whole month?
Which I think we lost for the whole month, which we didn't make the playoffs. At least this team is going somewhere, and they have time to turn it around.
That's fair. So much is being talked about struggles, whose fault, who's what. We don't hear a lot about Brad Stevens. Where does he stand as far as the blame is concerned?
Well, look, I think we all anointed Brad Stevens best coach in the league too early the last couple of years. And he is a terrific, terrific coach. And he deserves some of the responsibility. But here's what I love. One of the many things that I love, actually, about Coach Stevens. He steps up and raises his hand. And I've heard him several times this year say, listen, it's my fault. I have to be better. And I just haven't done a good job with this group. I love that. And as a player, if I was on that team, I love a guy that can raise his hand and say, I got to be better. As the leader, he does that, and it should, it should wash down through the rest of the players, but it hasn't thus far. But I love Coach Stevens for that.
I want to show the standings before I ask you something, Jalen, real quick. As far as the East is concerned right now, they are 5th. They do have an opportunity to move up as high as possibly 3rd. Westgate right now has them at a 14-1 odds to win the title, 3-1 to come out of the East. And obviously there are many teams that are in that running, Jalen. Where do you have Boston amongst them?
I'm done making excuses for Paul Pierce's talent-laden Boston Celtics that have underachieved the entire year. I felt like many people, when you add Kyrie and Gordon Hayward to a team that make it to conference finals, they should be ready to take the next leap. Michelle Beadle, right now, I feel like the Boston Celtics, the best thing that's happened to them is that Oladipo got injured. That's how I feel about the Celtics, because they're not on the level of the Bucks, not on the level of the Raptors. Even though they've owned the Sixers, I feel like the Sixers will have their way in the playoff or should be favorite. So these Celtics, I feel like, will not meet expectations. Well, the reason they're not at the level they're supposed to be at, 2 things. Kyrie, if the Celtics were going to be a contender in the East, he would have had to turn into an MVP candidate, a top 5 MVP candidate, which he is not in that category right now. Another thing, we would have had to see Jason Tatum or maybe even Jaylen Brown emerge into an all-star. So if those things had happened this year, best believe the Celtics will be right where people predicted them to be, and that would be at the top of the East. But those guys didn't take that step, that leap this year. And that's why they're at where they're at. And Al Horford was an all-star last year, but he's not. A lot of people predicted 4 all-stars for the Celtics before the season. We're not seeing that.
You know what? I like you to admit that. That's very good of you. A lot of people did. You're not the only one. Can we get some happy birthdays? Sing them. Sing it.
Happy birthday.
I was going to say, we're going to do the Stevie Wonder one.
Happy birthday.
Officially drinking age today.
Happy birthday.
The Rockets.
That don't sound like a Motown Detroit voice, Jalen.
That was really awful. And do the Rockets now have 2 gears to success? The details next on if Houston is better moving the ball or with Harden making all the moves.
Get down on it.
MVP, but how does he feel about a repeat performance? Rachel Nichols got to ask him about it in our Straight Talk soundbite.
You have said that you want the MVP again this season. Make your case to me. Why do you deserve it?
What do you mean? Just look at all what we've had to go through when you put, any other guy in the situation that I've been in, and they probably wouldn't be here in the same situation, And so we got a chance to get to that, top 3 seed in the West, which we all know how difficult that is. But I mean, that conversation of being in the MVP is something that's my goal every year, and it's been the goal since the last, 5 years.
Fair enough. Not everyone will admit that. He wants another MVP. Who's your choice right now?
James Harden, you don't have to tell everybody what you're doing. We're watching it. I got the beard.
Okay.
While I agree with everything Harden is saying, I have to go with Giannis for the simple fact no one had Milwaukee being at the top of not only the East but the league at this point in the season.
I agree. I know where you're going, but it's not necessarily a team award, though you got to factor winning in. And I like to think about the Heisman Trophy. For me, Harden has had more wow moments. Okay, like 50-point games with 10 assists, 40-point games, the 30-point streaks. So I think he's had to do something that made it a little more outstanding. But they're 1A and 1B.
He has the zhuzh.
But we based this award over the years based on team performance and individual performance, and they go hand in hand. Based on the criteria, best team, best player. I'm just saying.
Well, I want to stick with the Rockets for a second because obviously CP3 and Capella have both returned, and they have improved. How exactly, Chauncey?
In so many ways, Beads, but we were very critical of this team early on. I mean, really were. They were really, really underachieving. They started to pick it up. We'll go to the tape right here for the court vision, but they've made a 100-degree turn in terms of the spirit of the team. And here's how. Rockets ball movement. Now, look at James. He advances the ball right here, but a lot of times he gets that outlet and nobody else touches the ball. Well, there's been a shift now. Look how many passes they make. Chris Paul gets into the middle of the paint where he can obviously knock down that shot, but swing. And now you get it to James when he can ISO real quick when the defense can't come and double team. They move in the basketball. That's 7 passes on one play. We haven't seen them do that. Now you look at multiple efforts defensively. You look at the switch right there. Now you look at Eric Gordon coming over to help right there. Nice job by Manimal taking away that baseline pass. PJ helps him. James helps him. And now Chris does a good job of contesting without fouling, and they collect a rebound. That's 7 efforts. And the Beard, the most interesting offensive player in the world. He gets in his bag right here. Now, if all else fails, just give the Beard the ball. And he can go get you 60 on any given night. So the spirit of this team has changed with them just being not only cohesive, but sharing the basketball and being unselfish on both ends of the floor.
Okay.
Sharing the basketball. That's why James got the most dribbles in the league history.
Yeah, and you've seen 7 passes right there.
He did show you that.
That's a team high.
Wait,
that's what they've been doing lately.
If they're going to threaten the league, if they're going to really pose a threat to this Golden State Warriors team and then moving on after that, would you rather see a team that has Harden scoring 40, 50, even 60 points, as you said, or the more balanced option?
40 points plus. This is when they're at their best. This is what they've been doing all year. This is what the team system is. This is what they're accustomed to. The team is 17-6 when he scores 40 plus. Do you know what they are when he scores under 40? The team is only 18-17. So right there tells you they're a better team when he's out there getting buckets.
These finals MVPs know this as well as anyone. What you're able to do in the regular season, what you're able to do in the postseason are way different. And so you can get away with that ISO ball, leading the league in dribbles, and all of that stuff. But in the playoffs, teams are going to lock in. It's the team dynamic. You got to swing the ball back and forth like Chauncey just broke down. Chris Paul has to be a factor. When they were at their best last year, like both of these guys were flirting with 10 assists on a nightly basis. The Manimal has really helped them out a lot, Kenneth Faried. But I think James Harden has to rely on the guys around him to make the game a lot easier.
I just don't see how you change your style of play once the playoffs start, though. This is how they play.
Well, I want to throw the standings up there as a reminder. The Rockets right now, a game out of third, along with Utah, hottest team in the conference over the last 10 games, including 4 straight wins. And they, just like their opponent today, 14-1 odds to win it all, 4th best in the NBA. Jalen, Denver's had a great season, a little sluggish lately. You've got OKC, who's lost 4 in a row. Paul George, a little dinged up. Right now, how would you rank this Rockets squad?
I think the Rockets and OKC are the two teams I give the best chance to upend the Golden State Warriors or take them to a long series, because they both have two savvy veterans that they can rely on. That each team has an MVP, and then obviously you have Chris Paul and Paul George now playing at an MVP level. So I trust them in the playoffs. For the Nuggets, to me, it's going to be a lot to do with home court advantage and matchups if they're able to possibly make it to the conference finals.
Mr. Defense, you're the Celtics today. On defense, what do you take away, or what do you try to take away from the game?
Well, you have to show James Harden some different coverages. First of all, you have to trap him sometimes. You have to sometimes just run a guy at him. He ISO. Sometimes, a lot of times when he gets trapped in a pick and roll, he just won't call a pick and roll. So he'll ISO. And if that happens, you have to fire a guy at him, which means just run a guy at him, no matter where that guy's coming from, just to make him think something different. Because as Paul said, when he gets 40, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
And he can get 40 on any given night.
Not let him get 40. Seems simple. SportsCenter tonight on ESPN after LAFC Sporting Kansas City with Steve Levy and John Anderson. Breaking down the NCAA field from top to bubble. Moments from soccer's opening weekend, MLS. And Antonio Brown reveals how his relationship with the Steelers soured. Oh, I think we know. SportsCenter, 10:30 Eastern on ESPN and the app. Coming up, Kyrie Irving is the most clutch player in the league, but is it more style than skill? Scoop Jackson gets all caffeinated, talks about Kyrie's trend, he breaks it down. Chris Paul passing Karl Malone for 10th on the all-time steals list on Thursday. Next on the list, Spurs legend Alvin Robertson.
He had a mean dice game.
It's nothing.
Performance. Bucks traveling to Utah to take on the Jazz in the NBA. Bucks starters, on average, have a height of over 6'10". It was the tallest lineup we've seen since 2003, and they took full advantage. Bucks with the steal, and then Giannis on the other end. You know what's coming. You know what's coming.
It'd been great if you did a layup.
I wouldn't have said you know what's coming. Bucks force another turnover here. You know what's coming here as well. Giannis wasn't even supposed to play. At least it was questionable to play with some right foot soreness. So the Big Five for the Bucks outscored the Jazz by 26 when they were all on the floor. Bucks up in the fourth, though. Giannis drives. Rudy Gobert said he kicked my butt. Oh! Giannis was brilliant. 43 points, 14 rebounds in 32 minutes. Bucks led by as much as 17 in the fourth. Teams, Matt, 403 in this position entering last night. Donovan Mitchell took over from there. Watch this dart here to Jay Crowder. He pops. Jazz up by 1. Mitchell said, down 17. I said to the team, we got nothing to lose. Let's go. And go they did. Mitchell, again, he went full NBA 2K mode. He's got over 40 points now. He called this the best regular season game of his entire career. Jazz go on a 17-3 run in the fourth quarter and then probably come back and beat the best team in the NBA. So Jazz fans, Matt, waking up with a little history on their side. Lakers fans like, just wake me up when this stretch is over.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect place to start half-hour headlines. That big win by the Jazz, and if we're being fair, things haven't been great for LeBron and the Lakers the last couple of months. Losing to the Suns is a whole different type of struggle. A 118-109 defeat to the league's worst team is a hole that the Lakers may not be able to dig out of. The loss dropped the Lakers to 30-33 as they chase the Clippers for the 8th and final playoff spot. It's the worst team, statistically speaking, that's ever beaten LeBron. 19 games remain, and losing to a team with 13 wins doesn't help L.A., Luke, and LeBron.
We need to be better. We need to be a lot better. I'm happy with the fight we showed in the fourth quarter, but that's where we're at in the season. That's the desperation that we need to start the game with.
And we can't keep looking at the standings. The standings are going to be what they are, no matter what. No matter if you win or lose, you can't. I've never been one to kind of look at the standings. I mean, you've known me for a while. So you just got to go out and do your job and try to do it at a high level throughout 48 minutes and then see what happens at the end of that.
How do you guys turn this around?
I'm honestly not even sure. Obviously something wrong with this team, and, it's up to us to try to fix it, but not really sure right now.
So let's break down the Lakers' playoff chances, shall we? With the loss to Phoenix, the Lakers now have less than 1% chance to make the playoffs. That according to BPI, and if that wasn't bad enough, they have the 5th toughest remaining schedule in the league.
Well, the Warriors, they widened the gap in the West after beating the Sixers in kind of a weird one for Steph Curry, who was in foul trouble, sat out most of the third quarter before coming back in the fourth and finishing with 28 points in the win. A win that the Dubs are not downplaying by any measure.
Having lost 2 in a row, being without Clay, without Loon, playing against a great team on the road, definitely one of the best wins of the year.
These feel-good kind of games where you just figure out how to win, it's very kind of playoff-esque, and we want to build that kind of mentality and expectation down the stretch of the season.
Everybody, lives and dies every single, it's dramatic, and it can't be for me.